Hello, everyone. I'm Billy Himpler from GovCon Leaders Circle. We're doing another Insight interview today. I'm joined by Sean O'Connor from Aleut Federal. Hi, Sean.
Hey, Ellie, thanks for having me today. Excited
Absolutely.
to be
Thank you
here.
for being here. Well, let's get into it. Tell us about Aleut.
All right. The Aleut Corporation was founded in 1972, born out of the Alaska Native Settlement Claims Act. There are six subsidiaries of the parent company. Aleut Federal is the largest of these, and it's the federal contracting arm of the company. The others do a mixture of business from hospitality and tourism to real estate to solar and renewable energy, and then some engineering services, but mainly commercial, but not on the federal side. So pretty much all federal work is directed through Aleut Federal, and we have three lines of business in the company. One is our construction services, almost 100% DoD focused, and then we have a mission support group. Those would be like boss contracts and kind of lower end IT work. And then our technology services group, which would be high end IT services. Again, that's all federal work for us.
That's great. That's great. And your role, you are the CFO, VP of Finance.
Yeah. So I've got senior vice president of finance for the Aleut Corporation for the parent company, CFO at Aleut Federal, our federal arm. And so I work in our headquarters for Aleut Federal is headquartered in Reston, and our executive team is all present there.
Excellent. Okay, great. So, yeah, you have a little split.
Yeah.
Um, that's good. How big is the team total?
So the executive team is five. We've got in Aleut Federal, we've got about 1,000 employees, just shy of 1,000 employees. But the corporate team, if you looked at, all the other subsidiaries, we probably have 1,500 employees total. So the majority are definitely federally focused.
Yeah. I do want to bring it back to the history lesson for a moment for our
Sure.
viewers that maybe not are not as familiar. Can you expand on the birth of
Sure.
Aliu and some of the others as well at that time period?
Yeah, sure. So um, there were 13, there are 13 Alaskan Native companies that were born out of this Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act. And this was a way for, um, I guess, for some revitalization to be put back into the Alaskan economy
Sure.
and to help take care of the settlers in each of those 13 regions. So it is broken up geographically across the state of Alaska. Um, Aleut in particular has Southwest Alaska, like the Anchorage area, and then the Aleutian Island chain. And
Okay.
so when you are an Alaskan Native company, you actually have the rights to anything in the ground in your territory. So because we're in a because we're an island chain, we don't have much in the ground. So like our resources would be, like fish and, kind of wildlife tourism kind of stuff. Where some of our other, competitors, they have, like there's gold mines in their region, or there's oil fields. So it's kind of interesting how it was broken up. So yes, that's how we got this. And then the federal piece came together from a couple of smaller subsidiaries that the Aleut Corp had purchased, and then pushed them together to form the Aleut Federal that we know today. And so
Got it.
that happened in about 2017, 2018. So Aleut Federal has been around since the 1970s,
Yeah.
but not in the form that we know it today.
Got it. Yeah. More recent. I guess
Yeah,
that's what, 8 years ago.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But okay, great. Yeah. And every time I work with a lot of ANCs, 8As in general, but in this case, it really is, and you can maybe speak more to this. When a contract is awarded, when work is awarded, it serves that community ultimately, going back to it. And it's not the same as, say, a nonprofit, but you can see a direct impact. Would you agree?
You can. We do have a whole group at Aleut Corp that manages shareholder services for us.
Okay.
And so I think this year our dividend will be about $4.5 million that's distributed to those shareholders. The services that are provided is, a combination of your annual distribution, which is really it's the better that Aleut Corp does at the bottom line, the bigger the dividend. So,
Yeah.
like in any business, but there's also a trust, which is what we manage our dividend distribution with. And now, because that in this format now, it can go tax free to the shareholders. We also have programs around educational reimbursement and education programs. We generally send, you know, 8 to 10 scholarships, like college scholarships, out to some portion of the shareholder community. We do an annual kind of contest to start up your own business, and so we awarded 4 of those last year. So it's the goal is very much to give back to the community. Um, you know, we are a for-profit business, and we do push that so that
Hmm.
we're able to do more for the
Sure.
shareholders.
Yeah, that's great. One of the things that comes up in our space is the uniqueness of the 8A program. And so if you want to comment on that, why are there several entities?
So yes, so we have about 30 entities that sit underneath Aleut Federal, and some of them are still in the 8A program. Others have graduated from the 8A program. Um, there are some rules around that, like we don't compete against each other. Each one's got its own primary and then secondary NAICS code, and you're not able to combine them. Um, but I will say, I think it was advantageous for us, certainly in the beginning, to make some inroads into the federal contracting community. Now, as there's been a lot of focus slash scrutiny on the 8A program, how it's used, how it's administered,
Yeah.
who gets programs out of that. So even before I got here, there's definitely has been a focus on full and open competition for us, that we know that at some point we're not going to be able to rely on the 8A program.
Hmm.
And we see that. I mean, I think we have 4 or 5 entities that are graduating from the program this year. So those ones will just be competing out in the open market. With the 8A program, like the level of scrutiny, I guess, that came about, this year and last
Last
fall,
year.
it was I think it scared a lot of people. And I think for us at Aleut Federal, we kind of took it as a challenge. Like, now we're just, we may have to reinvent ourselves if we have to, as a, just a full and open, government contractor. And, if you're still going to give me an 8A like direct award, I'm not going to say no to it. But
Sure.
that our pipeline is not built on that now. Our BD staff and our directors who are running our business units are very much focused on not relying on kind of any set aside business. So,
Got it.
but
And traditionally, you could, in theory, keep opening up 8As.
you can.
Yeah.
I will. So to that point, though, we really have noticed a slowdown in that the Small Business Administration, you know, uh, giving the authorization to open up those 8As. Like,
Hmm.
I don't. If I'm remembering right, we've not had one approved for opening since last August.
Okay.
So it's for um it's not like, knock on wood, it's not impacted our business, as of today. I can see where it would impact other companies, businesses, depending on where they are, and like that growth life cycle. We've been around for a while, and um I think our business base is a little bit bigger, that we could sustain some of that kind of scrutiny.
Yeah. The rewind time, but that was the competitive advantage for some time. Oh, hey, we don't have an actual sunset on our 8A program because we'll open up another one.
Right.
Whereas most small businesses, minority owned, whatever it might be, women, they open it up and it's gone after what, 9 years?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's nine,
Yeah.
10 years, and there's some level of reporting requirements with the 8A. Like, the Small
Yeah.
Business Administration definitely does want to see your progress, and definitely is looking for you to succeed and graduate from the program and
Sure.
not be like a permanent resident.
Exactly. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good segue here into some of the things that are going on in our space right now. So we mentioned a lot of changes to SBA. What are some other issues you're seeing top of mind in the industry?
So we're certainly seeing a slowdown in awards. We're getting, you know, projects that we're in for recompete on. We're getting extensions because the recompete itself is not moving. One of our larger jobs at Fort Belvoir, I think we're probably in month, 16 of extensions because the recompete hasn't come off. So I think that's the general theme that we see is that it's definitely slower than it has been in other years. Um, I guess the pace of new acquisition is definitely
Not
slowed.
there. Yeah.
So,
Well,
we
that's
have
good if
that.
you have the award. If you already have the work, you're in a good spot.
We are.
Yeah.
Knock on wood again. The other thing that we see is, part of our business does construction, and that's roughly probably maybe a little bit less than half the company. So, we do see impacts from, tariffs and where we purchase goods for, depending on where in the world we're working. Like for example, we do a lot of construction work in Guam, which is very far from the United States and prohibitively like expensive to ship, building goods from the mainland. So we definitely do see some tariff impacts and our ability to source goods for that. And then I think that the last piece for us for what we see going on in the business is um, I it's I think we're finding it hard to hire the talent that we want. Like people are they're either not in the market, period. They don't want to leave where they are because, it's an unknown to leave now. Or we're just y- or we're, I don't know, maybe we're too picky, too specific with what we want. But I think the pace of hiring for us has been, slower than I've experienced in past years.
There's sort of a combination effect, and it goes against the supply and demand analysis. There are less jobs right now. We had a surge in cuts from the government
Yeah.
last year. I think that's mostly slowed down. If anything, they're rehiring. Um,
Yeah.
so traditionally, you would say, okay, there's less jobs, so I can be more selective. I can get the better person. But actually, what's happened in a lot of cases, I'm seeing it's, hey, you know what? I'm not going to look right now because it's too. I don't have enough choice as a candidate.
Mhm.
Um, Now, I think most people, it's case by case. Like if the right opportunity comes up, folks are always open to hearing. There's very few that would say if the perfect opportunity came up, they wouldn't at least hear it out. But yeah, I think if anything, it's a good thing that we're not in a place where the absolute best candidates are freaking out.
Yeah, true.
the-
Yeah.
and we haven't gotten there. Although it is competitive right now. The best talent is always going to be hard to find,
Right.
regardless of the market.
Yeah, agreed.
Yep.
And our positions they really vary kind of all over the place. So it's on the lower end work, it's it could be a laborer, or now we want a business development person that's specific to a certain agency and it's got a specific track record that we want. So
Yep.
it really does kind of float all over the place for us right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Show me the win sheet. I got to see
Yeah.
that. Don't just tell me that you've done some work here and there.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Well, and so what do you think is going to happen in the next 12 to 18 months? Is this status quo as it is right now, and then we just maybe see a change in a couple years, potential change in administration, or just new presidency altogether?
So that's a terrific question. I'd say my crystal ball is a little bit cloudy right now, but I do tend to think that things are going to stay in a similar pattern that they are right now. I do, I do think some kind of change an administration could potentially get more things moving. I feel like I'm talking out both sides of my mouth because of the next comment I'm going to make is, with our current administration, there is definitely a focus on DoD spend, and the majority of our work is with or whatever we're calling it now,
Department of War,
Department of
yeah,
War. So that's I feel like that's a safe segment of the GovCon market to be in.
right now, yeah.
Yeah, and so I guess you just want to be a contractor that can go after those specific types of programs. Clearly, we're very production oriented, like weapons production, that kind of stuff. That's definitely not us, but we could do the systems around that, or we could build you the building that you want to build your weapons in.
Yeah, you've got some
Yeah.
channels. It does feel like there's this micro economy in defense tech that is like, what are you talking about? The market's fine.
Right.
And those are the manufacturers. And there's a lot that have popped up. The VC backed firms, the VC space has exploded in the last 18 months. It seems we've seen a lot of different firms that I'd never seen before.
So
Um,
I
yeah,
totally agree with you. I do think like you're in the right if you're in the right sector of the market, you're not experiencing any kind of like chaos,
setback.
turmoil. Like
Yeah.
you're just sitting pretty, and you're along for the ride.
Right, right, right. Well, good. Well, I want to get into you. Would
Yeah.
love to hear more about your background. And so let's go all the way back to graduation and where you're originally from. Let's start with that. Where are you originally from, Sean?
So I'm originally from New Jersey,
Okay.
Elizabeth, New Jersey, right outside New York City. Grew up there through high school. Uh, Came to college at American University in Washington. It was, the perfect place to have lots of things to do, places to go out, museums, activities. It was, a perfect place for me to go to school. I did go right after graduating from AU. I did go back and work in New York for almost 2 years doing investment banking, and then decided that that really was not for me. And I started and I was DC, living in DC or Arlington at the time. Like, well, where you go to work? You go to work for a government contractor.
Yep.
So I went to a company called BDM, which was later bought by TRW, which was then bought by Northrop Grumman. So spent about 6 years there, learned the ropes of, government contracting, kind of the right way to do things, in a very structured type environment. And so that was great. I did take a short break and I went to a telecom company for a little bit of time with some of the founders of BDM, but, didn't stay there too long, back into GovCon and really have been there,
Ever
been there
since.
since. So
Yeah.
I did spend, I guess probably I don't know, almost 13 years at a smaller government contractor called Abacus Technology, based in Chevy Chase. Great
Yep.
experience there. Um, Kind of learned the big programs, and really had the ability to get my hands into a lot because it was a small company. Our finance staff was too. So it really was the opportunity to kind of do everything from financial reporting, project control, pricing, you know, um, billing, kind of
Yeah.
everything. So,
Wide scope exposure. That's great.
yeah,
I've run into Abacus. I've seen them.
yeah,
Um, yeah. And that's Northrop Grumman. I think they're up to 80,000 employees today. So,
something
yeah.
like that. It's, I do think you learn a lot when you work at a company like that. Like I think you do learn how to do things, well, like, something similar to like a best in class kind of analogy that, those are, if you've been successful there, like, I think you can take yourself to a smaller place and really kind of help them grow and implement those kind of, best practices.
Yeah. Solid.
Hmm.
No, it's a good place to start your
Yeah.
career. Good. And so your first fast forwarding, you're
Yeah.
into executive
Yeah.
level here. Your first CFO role was with Take Two or was it Metria? And it's just a
So,
different take.
but the first time I had the title was at Take Two Consulting. But
Okay.
at Maitreya, we actually changed our name. Used to be Meta Aerospace, but then Facebook changed their name to Meta, so we changed our name.
Okay.
Um, I was executive vice president of finance, and for a portion of the time, we did not have a CFO. So
Okay.
I did get to do that role. That was really my first kind of big exposure to the acquisitions. And we bought 8 companies while I was there. So heavy on the
Wow.
on the equity and the debt raise, the financing piece, banking relationships, and that, the diligence that goes around an acquisition. And then, actually, like, how do you bring this company into your company and, kind of assimilate them? So, that was a super, that was a super experience for me. I really very much enjoyed it. It was the first CFO title that kind of, got me to go
Yeah.
and jump ship to take two.
Yeah. And for a lot of our viewers, it's how do I get that opportunity?
Right.
And so if you want to comment on that a little bit, my guess is a lot of just opportunity timing, but go ahead.
So, I do think that getting the first one is the hardest one to get.
Sure.
You have to find somebody who wants to take the chance on you being a first time in this role.
Yeah.
And, I think, for me, when interviewed, I did have the benefit of having kind of done the role just without the title. But, you know, when it's really just you, like that you're at the top, like, it can be, it's a little scary. And,
Yeah.
you got to be ready to take that leap. And I certainly think it is, there's some luck involved in that one that you found, either a good recruiter or you bumped into somebody that you knew who knew somebody. Like, I think a lot of things have to come into place. I do, I guess for my advice for somebody else who's looking for that type of this type of CFO role is, make the most of the places that you've worked at. Like, round out your experience. Go, you know, work on different projects that maybe are not all like finance related. Deal with some of the use an example like how does a company put together its fringe benefit package, the health insurance and stuff, which clearly affects the P&L. It's not really a finance function, but each of those things like helps to grow your resume. And then, I think I've just been lucky. Like, I really like the team here at Aleut. I mean, it's probably the nicest group of people that I've ever worked with.
Oh, that's so good to hear.
Mm,
That's great. Good. Yeah, it is. It's frustrating for a lot of folks where it's like, man, I did this, I'm ready. Like, just got to get that opportunity. And
yeah,
like anything, how are you gonna be qualified if you haven't had the opportunity?
right.
And chicken or the egg? Like it's yeah.
Exactly.
Um, so being ready, just always being fine tuned at the last hour if you get called. Like
Right.
yeah, you got to
Yep.
step up. Always on deck.
Yes. Always on deck.
Yeah, good. Um, All right. Well, shifting gears here. So actually getting in a little bit more into the weeds, I wanted to hear a little bit more about kind of what you cover on a day to day. You did talk about investment banking on the front end there. You talked a little bit about sort of the scope from Metria, or was it Abacus? It was
uh,
Abacus where you did a lot of stuff because it was just two
yes, I got
people.
to do a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, I mean, sometimes the rolls up to a CFO could be everything from HR to IT, not just finance and accounting. What are you overseeing right now?
So I have the FP&A function. I have the project control group. I have the whole of the accounting group, which is, AR, AP, like our general ledger accountants, financial reporting. I have the contracts and procurement group and payroll.
Yeah. That's a good list there.
So I have most of the back office minus HR.
Yeah, and so, the easy one to pick out there, contracts, you're not a contracts guy, or are you? No.
Not really.
No, yeah, and so with that, like, how do you manage a space, that you don't know?
Um, I mean, my answer to that is you hire well beneath you.
Yeah,
So I did hire a phenomenal director of contracts, and I if she ever listens to this, she'll like she's on a fast track for like a nice promotion. She really has got a broad breadth of experience, and we brought it like I hired her. It's not me who's going to read through all the FAR clauses and figure out like, well, this one seems a little scary, but maybe we should go with it anyway. So, for me with that, it was really all around hiring and finding the best talent that I could available. And then she brought in two of her former teammates. So that has
That's great.
really, really helped me out. Um, so I'll pivot to the procurement side. I did touch on some of that when I was at Abacus and
Okay.
standing up like best practices around procurement and hiring a procurement manager. So that piece I know a little bit better. Um, those are my two. Hire well.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a common misunderstanding. Oh, they're the CFO, they're the CEO. They must know how to do literally everything, and it's just not true. You
No,
just have to know enough.
right?
Like, I think you could probably have most of the high level conversations. She's not diving into a particular far point, whatever.
No.
Yeah, that would be silly.
Hmm.
But you know enough to be deadly, and
Yep.
that's why you're quarterbacking.
Right.
So
Eh,
hiring well, like you said, that's it's such a difference maker. Well, I do want to leave some time for recommendations and anything you'd like to see. I think I know both of us would like to see a big growth the rest of this year, but any recommendations to start for that up and comer, that person that is maybe at the beginning of their career, maybe they just started in public accounting, maybe they're in
Yeah.
investment banking or something else. Any general recommendations for
So I
scaling
do
here?
I do have a couple.
Good.
I think an accounting degree is a very well earned diploma. I think you get a lot of instilled like discipline in you, and just knowing that the basics that things need to balance. You have to be able to show that your numbers and your reporting ties out. So I think that always serves somebody well. Like I did not have that. I was a finance major in school, and I did finance. When I first got out, so I really had to learn accounting
Yeah.
and honestly, like trial and error, get better at it.
Yeah.
How do I do a balance sheet rec? How do I figure those things out on my own? So I guess I'll generalize that like pick your major well. When you're getting out of school, pick something that's solid, something that's tangible. Because I think that will serve you well going forward. And then, like to a newer employer or an uppercomer, somebody who really wants to kind of get going with their career is, I would volunteer for extra projects. Like I mentioned about the fringe analysis. The more things that you can get into the business, like the more in demand your talents are going to be, the more well-rounded you're going to be, the better you're going to be able to, you know, think on your feet and speak about different topics. And then I guess one other one, if we have time for that, is something that we do at Aleut is we're really trying to get our younger employees to start presenting to management. Like when we do our monthly financial reviews, like for example, Billy, we want you to address your portfolio of programs that you're the program control analyst for. So I think, as a younger, like somebody trying to, build a name for themselves, I really do think it's important to, get into that presentation mode and be able to do that and be comfortable with it as you advance in your career. You don't uh, I give lots of briefings. I might not know everything that's behind that slide, but I know how to talk my way around it. And
Sure.
my patented well, I don't know the answer to that, but I will get back to you.
Good. No, that's wonderful. I think a lot of up and comers are looking at, if they are, I hope they are, ways to distinguish themselves with AI.
Yeah.
Um, and not just, hey, the basic questions are the things that everybody's doing, but really trying to find some sort of sequence or workflow that not everyone's asking about. And yeah, the extra stuff that's not readily available. I'm working on that. We're working on that internally at Spectrum, and yeah, no, it's
So
an
we
excellent
you
point.
actually bring up a good point, and I should have mentioned that. It's just it hasn't been my whole career. But,
Yeah.
we do probably have 15 different initiatives in my department, that we've targeted as AI initiatives, things that,
Mm.
we can look for automation. And you're right, you know, a, a newcomer coming in having those skills already is very valuable to us.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So when I was in school, and I think it was well before this too, but uh, Excel classes were basically a mandatory thing,
Yeah.
um, which seemed odd at the time. Like, oh, like I already know Excel, but you just kind of took it for granted because you were doing it with other stuff. But yeah, I think if the next step should be, and I think some schools are looking at ways. Because I know for a while it was like, hey, how can we cut AI out so no one's cheating? Not that, but hey, how can we put this in kind of like that, right? Like we want
Right.
our students leaving so they can come to Sean, so they can come to Billy with, I've already got some solutions for your whatever it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally agree with you. I mean, it's I sit down and play with it all. I just built a briefing that I gave yesterday, all in Claude, just talking back and forth to Claude.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It's kind of weird in that way. It's more and more feeling like another person.
Right.
Well, very good. I do want to leave some extra time. Anything else you want to comment on? Anything you want to share?
I guess I will give a little bit of a plug, for my company. I'm happy to work there. I'm very happy to have the ability to do a whole bunch of different things. And everybody should, if they're looking for a job, they should go check out aleutfederal.com. And then I just want to thank you for having me on here. I think the GovCon Leader Circle is a great group. I had the privilege of attending the event the other night, and
Yep.
it was it's great to have like that network of people together. And it makes it so much easier when you have a question about something like, wait, I just met so and so who
Yeah.
has encountered the same problem. So I'm happy to be part of the group, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for being there the other night. I know we had some good laughs
Yeah.
at our end of the table. I won't
Yeah.
name any names. Well, good. Sean, thank you so much. Appreciate you being here. If you
Anytime.
enjoyed this, please like and subscribe to GovCon Leader Circle. Have a great weekend.
All right. Thanks.